I was living in Virginia at the time, and I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. Our house had 3 stories, and I was standing on one end of the hallway on the top floor. On the other end was the staircase leading down to the second. I begin to walk down this hallway, passing the door to my bedroom on the left and the door to my brother's bedroom on the right, and I come to a stop at the top of the stairs. It's at this point I look down, and I realize that I have wings, a pair of dress-up fairy wings that slide over my shoulders like a backpack, but they spread out behind me, sparkling in the light with all these different colors. I go to step down the stairs, but my foot never hits the wood. Confused, I take another step, but rather than descending, I rise into the air and I glide down the stairwell, coming to a stop in the living room. The living room was something I had seen every day. It was just our couch, our TV. It wasn't particularly special to me. But as I rose through the air, coming to a stop almost at the ceiling, I gazed down upon it with this newfound sense of wonder. Something that had seemed so ordinary to me in the past was now extraordinary as I looked down upon it from a completely different perspective. Of course, I woke up not long after, but I had a very active imagination as a kid, and the primary way it presented itself was through my dreams. I always looked forward to going to bed each night, wondering what weird or wacky adventure my subconscious would take me on next. And when I woke up the next morning, I always took care to write down anything I could remember. This was something I did my entire childhood, but it all changed when I entered high school. When I entered high school, I was suddenly bombarded with classwork, stress, things to do that I just stopped. Taking care to remember and write my dreams and turn them into short stories, it just didn't seem as important anymore when compared to my newfound responsibilities as a young adult. My dreams grew dull and far between, and I grew uninspired. My life felt bleak, like something was missing. I wasn't creating anything unless it was for school. I grew sad, and it wasn't until the end of freshman year that I realized why. One day, I was looking through my bookshelf, looking for something new to read over the summer, when my gaze traveled down to that bottom shelf. It was in that moment I felt this spark in my heart and in my mind, and I got an idea. I took out one of my old dream journals, and I began flipping through it. Memories came flooding back to me as I reminisced on my old dreams, and it was then that I realized this is what I had been missing all along. This was how I creatively expressed myself. And so I made a resolution to myself. I went out and I bought a new journal. I placed it on my bedside table, and over the course of the next few weeks, I slowly began to fill those pages with new dreams. After a bit more time, I sat down and I decided to turn one of those dreams into a short story. It was the first time I had written creatively in well over a year, so once I finished that little 10-page short story, I felt really proud of myself. It wasn't anything particularly special, but it was special to me because it represented so much more. I felt inspired and I felt empowered. Us, as adults, we're constantly thinking ahead with this abundance of information coming at us. What's next? What do we need to do, tending to our responsibilities, that we often forget to take a deep breath, relax, and give ourselves time to create, to give ourselves permission to let our inner creative child come out to play. In a world of responsibilities, to give ourselves permission to create things we love. Not necessarily because we're good at it, not necessarily for work or for school, but because we want to, because it makes us happy. I actually had a dream recently that I was standing on a boat in the middle of this vast ocean. I take a step onto the bow, and I gaze out at the horizon where the sea met the sky. This was a view I had seen many times before, and so I didn't think much of it. I go to jump off the bow, but instead of feeling the splash of cool water against my skin, I feel the rush of wind as I rise up into the air, coming to a stop at least 40 feet above this boat. I gazed down at the blue water below me and the blue sky above me, and it all seemed new. The ocean, something I had seen so many times before, was now new as I looked down upon it with a completely different perspective. My creative spark came from my dreams. What's yours? Thank you.